Hey coin collectors, and welcome to DC Coin Channel. This is DC looking at some 1972 Lincoln pennies, the Lincoln Memorial 1-cent coin as it's actually called in the coin literature. We see starting right here we have a 1972 with nothing underneath it. That would be the Philadelphia. Of course, by 1972 the mint marks were back. That was in the 60s that they didn't have the mint marks on any of the coins. So we see the next coin here is a D. And let's look at that right there. And of course, that's for Denver Mint. And then if we move over just one more, we'll see this one here has an S right there, if I can get that big pen out of the way. And that's for the San Francisco Mint. So we have all three of them here. Now, one of the first things we should settle is this San Francisco Mint or this 1972 S a proof coin? And it almost surely isn't, because they made these pennies at all three mints in a regular circulation in 1972. So at the Philadelphia Mint, they made almost 3 billion. At the Denver Mint, they made 2.6 to 2 2/3 billion, or 2.66 billion. And at the San Francisco Mint, they made 376 million. So they didn't make as many, about as tenth as many almost as the other mints. But at the San Francisco Mint, they did make regular coins. And then at San Francisco, in addition, they made 3.25 million proof coins. You'll almost always see the proof coins for the San Francisco Mint as unused, very shiny coins. We don't have any that are very close, but here's one that's closer. And so if you saw something a little bit more like this, then it might be closer to a proof coin. Even, and you say, well, nah, it wouldn't have the scratches, of course, but even in the plastic, sometimes you get this coloring. And there, you can see that just the back of this one is just really nice. Did you notice what I just saw in the front? Look how wide this rim is. This is, it's something that comes out a little different on the 72 coins, in that there was all kinds of different varieties, and they made so many of the 72 Philadelphia that there are all kinds of error coins. So when you make 3 billion of anything, you've heard me say that before, you're going to have a lot of errors. So this wide rim, it's way wider than the other ones, even wider than that other Philly. It could be from getting crushed down, but it's most likely it's just they made so many that they weren't quite as good in terms of quality at the Philadelphia Mint. So what else have we got here? Well, let's take a look at the Denver, because we just looked at that Philly. So there's a Denver Mint coin, and it says 1972. We see here it says Liberty behind Lincoln, in God we trust above his head. Let's get that. And let's change the lighting just a little bit so we can see that better. Not that one. How about this one? That's better. There we go. So it says, you see it says, in God we trust here. Here it says 1972, D as in Denver. Down at the bottom it says Liberty. And then way down underneath Lincoln, if we get it just right, sometimes we can see the V, the D, and the B. We can't see it on this coin because it's so worn, but of course, we're coming up on almost 40 years of this coin. We tip it up, we see it has a smooth edge. And if we flip it over, we see it has the Lincoln Memorial on the back. United States of America at the top, E pluribus unum here. There's Lincoln way deep inside the Lincoln Memorial, sitting on his, sitting in the chair. And then it says 1 cent at the bottom. So at the Denver Mint, which this one is, they made about 2.66 billion. So plenty of these around. This coin is probably worth about 1 to 2 cents, maybe 5 cents if you don't have one. This coin with the Philly is probably the same thing, worth, call it 6 cents each. And then if we look at the San Francisco Mint coin, worth slightly more just because they didn't make as many, probably 10 to 12 cents for the San Francisco Mint coin right here. Now, what are these, the so-called error varieties? When they made these coins, they made a bunch that had errors on them in terms of double dies. So if you ever heard of a double die, and essentially what happens in a double die is the letters kind of get doubled up. In the front of the Philadelphia coin from 1972, there are probably 20 different varieties of the double die coin. And they used a slightly different version on these ones of the knotted tie in 1972 and 1971 than they did on the coins before and after. They went actually back to the original obverse here for the bow tie. So what would we look for if we're looking for the 1972 double die? Well, the trick is we need to look at, and they're very rare, so just because there's 18 to 20 varieties doesn't mean you're going to find a lot of them. Generally, we're looking at the letters on the front and at the motto and see if we can see any doubling. And what you can do is if you get some 1972 coins, you can just look through them all, and the chances are you're not going to find one, but you might as well. Let's see if we can get that light better. We kind of got lost here. Sometimes the camera does a self-focus. I don't know if you've ever experienced that. And the camera does a self-focus, and it actually changes the light as you go. All right, so there's a 72. Can't see any sign of doubling. Remember, this is a DDO that we're looking for, the double-dyed obverse. And this one, nope, I'm not really. So we're looking at all the letters, we're looking at the Liberty, we're looking at the numbers, and really nothing that stands out here. And let's get down to, let's see, how about right there? That's a good angle because we can kind of see the letters. Let's look at some more. I just got a bunch of them together, and just to see if we can kind of see. If you tip it up like that, sometimes you can kind of see. I mean, we see some messy lettering here. The In God We Trust, right? Sometimes they get pretty close to the rim, but no doubling in these ones so far. And notice we're looking only at the Phillies with the no mint mark. And you know, some of these you probably would have a hard time telling. You look at this L over here. I don't think that's doubling, but it's so worn that it's hard telling. And this one, let's look at two more. And chances are we're not going to see any, but let's just look at them just in case, and then here for this last one. All right, so we look at the letters, we don't really see any doubling. If you do get some 1972s, make sure you do look for them and look for the doubling, but otherwise, this is the coin that you want to put in to fill your collection. And so there's this, when you start getting them together, just see if you can get them all together and get your D's and your S's. Sometimes it's really hard to find all the S's because they are simply not as frequent. And what happens is with many collectors, as soon as they see an S, they keep it because they think it might be a they think it might be a proof coin, but of course this one isn't. So there, let's just back off and take another good look at these. So we got all three of them here. Let's get that D out of the way. We got the 1972S for San Francisco, the 1972D for Denver, and the 1972 plain for Philly. And take a good look for them, and hopefully you'll find some of the double dies in your collection. If not, these are great coins to collect, and we'd love to have you subscribe to our channel and leave any comments you might have in the DC Coin World comment section.